Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or whatever the hell time you are listening to this. I am late, as usual. I'm like, I can't stick to a damn schedule to save my life. I was supposed to have this video up a week ago, but technically 2 weeks ago. Between trying to find a external hard drive because I didn't realize how much space doing this was going to take up on my laptop, and then also me deciding at this big age of 30 to tumble my ass down the stairs and land on all fours, I have just been fucked up. I have been fucked up, but I'm here. Um, as the title suggests, we're gonna be talking religion today, which we'll get into in a few. Uh, so I haven't seen much things that have interested me to speak about in the past couple of weeks in media, nor in the real world, internationally or nationally. I just haven't seen an issue that I'm interested in talking about at length or giving my opinion on. So when that occurs, I'm gonna start doing a section called Let's Talk. Let's Talk is pretty much where the entire show for that episode is gonna focus on one topic. There won't be like a Twitter reads or any subtopics or anything like that. I might have one. Like today, we do have one, which we'll also get into that in a couple of minutes. But just to keep things a little simpler for myself, I'm gonna try to record I'm gonna try to record one episode a day this week, so I can pretty much still have material that I can push out if I decide to tumble my ass down the stairs again. But yeah, I hope the past couple of weeks have been great to y'all. I hope that you've been out there making money. I hope that you've been out there doing what needs to be done for yourself, for your family, for your future, for your loved ones, and all that. Today on our first subtopic, I want to talk about Tyler Perry. Not about the drama that he's involved in every now and then, whether it be like Monique or someone accusing him of some type of sexual misconduct or something like that. Today, I want to talk about Tyler Perry's studio's potential. For years now, I feel like, throughout my life at least, I feel like I've heard many people saying that black people should kind of have their own award show, their own, things to give black people notoriety where spaces that are predominantly white, they don't. I feel as though Tyler Perry Studios, being the first major black-owned studio, has the power to do everything we've been asking the non-black organizations to do. The issue is that I feel as though Tyler Perry sometimes gets in the way of himself in accomplishing that broader goal. First of all, I'm going to say I don't even know if that's a goal of Tyler Perry, to be this kind of jumping pad, launch pad, if you will, for black entertainers. I don't know if that's his goal. It doesn't seem like that's his goal because if you look at it, he owned Tyler Perry Studios itself as an entity only really makes Tyler Perry material, things that are written and directed by him. If you look on something like Wikipedia or IMDb, you'll see films and TV shows listed in the credits that aren't written or directed by Tyler Perry. But you got to understand, these people, like I saw. Hold on, let me grab it again, so I can. I'm gonna put it up on the screen for you. But I'm just checking my phone. You'll have things like Coming to America 2, Red Notice, the Hawkeye show. You know, these productions used Tyler Perry's sound stages in order to produce their films. Like, let's say if I'm working for Disney and all of my sound stages are filled. I have a lot of projects going on. They're all filled. Hey, there's this guy in Atlanta. He has a studio. You know, he has an acceptable price. Okay, cool. Let's use his studio. So we're using his studio for production, but that film, that TV show is not coming from that studio, if that makes sense. I have seen online quite a bit, especially with Tyler Perry's last film he created with Kelly Rowland, I believe. It got criticized a lot online. I don't know what the general population feels outside of online spaces. I haven't looked at like Rotten Tomatoes or any type of like ratings for the film, but you know, generally just what I'm seeing, a lot of people have been criticizing either the production itself, how it's shot, or people's attire in the film, or people are criticizing the writing in the plot. And that's kind of been a common trend with Tyler Perry in these past few years. I haven't really watched a Tyler Perry movie since I don't even remember what the movie was called. I remember it was a Madea movie. I don't remember if it was like Medea's Halloween or Madea or something about a funeral or something like that. I just remember that it was horrible. It was that. That's the only way I can put it. By the end of that movie, I walked away like this was an utter waste of my time. It was an utter waste of my time. It was a fucking waste of my time. It was a frivolous waste of my time. I feel as though there are two issues that I feel is happening. One, Tyler Perry is stretching himself too thin. You have multiple TV shows, you have multiple movies, and your creative juices can only take so much strain if the only well that you're extracting that from is just your own mind. Tyler Perry needs more directors in the studio. Tyler Perry needs more writers in the studio. But I think with him in his mind, I think this is just, I ain't spoke to Tyler Perry. I don't know this man personally. I'm just analyzing this shit from the out. Well, damn, that shit was loud. I'm just analyzing this shit from the outside. I think that he has gotten to the place where you have a strong fan base, you have a loyal fan base, and sometimes I don't think Tyler Perry is real with himself on the quality of his material. I think when Tyler Perry writes something out, he's like, this is great. Let's go ahead and greenlight this right now and start production. Not realizing that no matter how talented you are, if you allocate too much of your talents to too many spaces, then the overall quality of your talent is going to depreciate or devalue. And that's what I feel has happened to a lot of his work these past number of years. Don't get me wrong, Tyler Perry has never been a me personally, I feel that I'll just compare him to another black director. I feel like Spike Lee is a better director. Spike Lee can shoot a fucking movie. And it feels cinematic and it immerses you in that world and it feels like a film. Um, Tyler Perry's movies don't come off that way. Um, so his movies feel like a sitcom. And I don't see any place where he would get like an Oscar or something like that for something that he's done. And that could just be very well because he's focused on too much shit at one time. I feel that if Tyler Perry, let's just talk about his films. If Tyler Perry had a writer's room, he's the lead writer, but he's allowing these other brilliant minds that he's went out and searched for. He's allowing these people to give their input on something that he wrote or help or collaborate with him on creating a plot for a story. He can write all the dialogue, but at least have someone in there to write a plot. That could, in my opinion, dramatically increase the quality of Tyler Perry's films because you're bringing in these fresh minds with fresh perspectives on films that you do. Even if Tyler Perry created more, even if he hired more directors, these people might consider better directors than him. But he's allowing these people to have a space where they can fully create that they might not have with a studio like Warner Brothers, like Disney, like Universal. I just feel like he can provide a lot more opportunities to people while at the same time increasing the quality of his own work. Now, outside of that, let me go back to the first thing I was saying. Outside of that, let's put Tyler Perry's work to the side. Tyler Perry Studios is a studio. Tyler Perry Studios, last time I checked, was worth, the studio itself, he is worth $1.4 billion, but the studio itself is worth almost $1 billion. It's over $900 million. So he has money. So my thing is, you have this money, you have this power, you have this notoriety. Why not build a studio that is the epicenter of excellent black entertainment? Like, you could be out scouting for these brilliant directors or these brilliant screenwriters that have a vision in a story they want to tell, and you could provide them with the resources to do that under your studio. Tyler Perry himself might not be able to push out an Oscar winner, but you can find someone that can create an Oscar-worthy movie, an Academy Award-winning movie, a film that people can relish in and be proud of, and getting notoriety around the world, if you just hire somebody and put in the work to find somebody that's capable of that. And it's all going to be done under the Tyler Perry Studios name. When they search up the details for that, his studio is going to be the first thing to show up. So it's kind of like, you know, we're constantly saying about how black actors are always snubbed and black directors are snubbed, and we don't get the notoriety and the attention or the resources that we should have, and our talents aren't treated the way they should be. Tyler Perry has the ability to create a company, an entity that is able to rectify a lot of that. I'm not saying that people won't still have some issues. I'm not saying that it's going to solve everything. But what I'm saying is he has the ability to jumpstart it. And I'm not talking about it. It seems like whenever Tyler Perry or Oprah Winfrey's name is attached to something, it's always a black struggle story. It's nice for people to see what black people go through. It's nice for other people to for 2 hours to be able to see and experience what we go through. But at the same time, you have so many other stories with black people at the centerpiece that you can tell. I mean, you have horror, you have mystery, you have action, you have sci-fi. There are so many genres that you can do that you can have black people be the main actors for, and it's not being done. So it's just, and to me that's odd that they put so much focus on these struggle stories, these precious and these color purples, but nobody's willing to give us just a fun film or a intriguing film or a thought-provoking film starring black people. So my only question, my thought is Tyler Perry too arrogant to do that? Or does Tyler Perry see doing that just as much as of a financial risk as studios with white studio heads feel? You know, and I was saying a while ago, it was quite some time ago, I said, you know, you can't expect studios to be interested in black stories because there aren't enough black people in the background. There aren't enough black film screenwriters in Hollywood. There aren't enough black directors in Hollywood. Like, you can take, if I was Tyler Perry, one of the first people I'd be trying, two people I would try, no, three, I would be trying to scoop up immediately. One would be Jordan Peele. I would not, like, if I was Tyler Perry, we don't even have to collaborate on the material itself. We can just collaborate on the production. Shoot, send me the script. I read the script. Hey, this is a great script. Let's do it. I provide you with the camera crew. If you have your own camera crew, cool. We'll collaborate on other methods. Do you already have an editing team? I have a few sound stages that you can use, and that film can be produced under Tyler Perry's studio name. Another one I would hire as well is Michael B. Jordan, who's pretty much getting into directing nowadays anyway. Michael B. Jordan has a lot of experience with different types of film writers. So he has picked up this this kind of, I guess, know-how of how to create a truly cinematic film. Another one that I think he should scoop up, which his mind is escaping me right now, Ryan Coogler. Now Ryan is tied up with Marvel at the moment, but as soon as that contract expires, as soon as he's done, I would have been trying to contact him. The only issue that might arise from that is that Ryan is used to that Marvel money. You know, Tyler Perry Studios don't have Marvel money quite yet. So I don't know if Tyler Perry can pay the man what he's, you know, willing to get paid, but they should be able to work that out. But nevertheless, I feel as though, you know, the gist of what I'm saying is that he could really build something great out of this thing that he's founded, this thing that he's created, this thing that he's started. But he has to get out of his own way. Will that ever happen? Don't know. Tyler Perry might not decide to do that at all. He might decide to do it once he feels like he's ready to retire and just be a studio head. Who knows where that's going to go? But I just feel like whether it's with his films and TV shows that he directs and does the storyboard for and all that, or whether it be something that he's not directly over, I think he has the room to grow into a much larger studio that can be a palace, so to speak, for black entertainers to thrive in. Let me know what your opinion is about that. Uh, today I don't want to focus on any of his, the past dramas or anything like that. Um, my only concern when it comes to Tyler Perry and some of the drama that he's been named in or accused of or anything like that, it's just the fact of, let's say that Tyler Perry gets caught up in something and people are able to provide proof, and the thing that he gets caught up in is kind of irredeemable. Like he can't come back from that. My concern is that he will sell the studio. uh I'm gonna just say my concern is that he'll sell the studio to a white person. Um, Much like how BET was owned by white people, interestingly enough. And to me, that would be an issue because once that happens, A, that the studio name is getting changed, and then B, it we start to lose sight of what that dream could have been for black entertainers, to get paid the amount they should get paid, to tell different types of stories outside of the black struggle, to be able to flourish in the way that they should, the way that they've earned. There's a lot of black actors that I'm pretty sure a lot of us can name probably 3 to 5 right off the top of our head that should have gotten more notoriety than what they did, or should have had an Oscar well before they won, or haven't gotten an Oscar at all and probably should have won. So I mean, Tyler Perry could create a studio. Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey could get together and create an organization that honors black people for their work, or people of color, or however you want to say it. So I don't know. I just think their focus is too much on telling those kinds of black stories, and they're not open to something else. But we shall see how all that shakes down as the time goes on. I am just a guy on a mic, so we'll see how all that shakes out. Now, another thing, this is we're getting into our Let's Talk section. One thing I want to say before I start talking about this, everything that I'm saying right now, about to say, is my opinion. These are things that I've thought in depth about, and conclusions that I've reached based off of those in-depth thoughts. I am not someone who conforms to what they call groupthink. I'm not someone who will be satisfied believing in something to just believe it. I'm not someone who's going to sit and act as though I do to be a part of something. You got to understand, I've been a loner all my life. Like, I've had friends here and there, but for the most part, I have been a loner all of my life. So I've spent a lot of time alone. I've spent a lot of time thinking in how I like. And even though I spent a lot of time thinking about the things that I think and the things I believe, I don't feel as though I'm married to any of those thoughts. Like, I'm very open to changing my opinion on things. I'm very open to hearing other people's opinions on things, because I have more of an interest to learn than I do to do what I can to keep believing what I'm believing, if that makes sense. So don't get offended by what I'm saying. The the show, the slogan for the show is called Magnify Your Vision. And to me, I feel like, in my mind, that just means open up your viewpoints to different perspectives. I feel like we don't learn without first exploring out. Well, we have to explore in, then explore out. So yeah, so that's my little slight disclaimer before I start this. Cause y'all ain't finna start hopping down my throat about some bullshit. You just not. Like I said, I'm not married to anything that I believe. I will not die for anything that I believe, because I could be motherfucking wrong. Um, but yeah, the purpose of these Let's Talks is well, the purpose of the show in general is for us to just have conversations about these things. You could think that everything I'm about to say right now is completely wrong. Cool. Say something in the comments. Let's talk about it. You think I'm wrong? Fine. What point do you think I'm wrong on? Let's have a discourse. Let's have a dialogue. Let's engage in conversation about this. Because I'm not the type of person that's going to sit here and say, you disagree with me? You're fucking dumb. You're a dumbass and all this other bullshit. I'm not that person. I'm not that person. Unless it's something completely like crazy that's being said, I'm generally not that person. But anywho, today for the Let's Talk segment, I want to talk about religion. And I guess I'll give you guys a brief overview of my experience with it. So I grew up Christian, primarily in a Pentecostal church. Many of those people I grew up with, I don't speak to most of those people now. I don't have any issues with most of those people. Some of those people are good people. Some of those people ain't shit. I have a lot of respect for a lot of people that I grew up with in the church. And I have some that I don't have no respect for at all. Fuck them. And I stand on that. But we ain't finna get into that today. I grew up Pentecostal Christian. My mother my mother's a devout Christian. She's, primarily pretty much in a Pentecostal church. I think the church she's in now kind of borderlines Baptist, but I ain't been to that church myself to see, so I couldn't tell you. But most of my life she has been Pentecostal. My father is also a Christian. He's more so on the Baptist side. For as long as I can remember, he's always been a part of a Baptist church. Both of my parents were ordained as ministers. Both of them have a strong faith in God and Jesus and all of that. My father, I knew my father was, I seen my father do a sermon once, and that was at one of my cousin's funerals. But my father would never, he's never been preachy to me. Keep in mind, I don't really speak much to my father nowadays. Just because of issues we've had in the past. But he's, growing up, he's never been the type to kind of force the Bible down somebody's throat or anything like that. My mother does not force it down your throat, but if you ask her for some type of advice, or if you're going through a tough time, that's going to be her first solution. Is you need to read the Bible, you need to go to church, you need to pray, and all that. So that's just a little background about my parents. I grew up in a Pentecostal church. My parents were never married. They never lived together. So, I was, of course, living with my mother. So I was always going to a Pentecostal church. There were a lot of things growing up that it just didn't make sense to me. Or some things just seemed kind of cruel. And I noticed a lot of people were not questioning it. They just, people would be like, hey man, yes father. And they just agree with whatever the Bible says or whatever the pastor's saying and things like that. And with me, I got to an age where I started to ask questions. And the more questions I asked that weren't actually answered or didn't give a sufficient answer, I started to just ask more questions. And now I can tell you now at this age that I was probably a little bit too aggressive with how I was asking those questions, because I'm like, y'all not seeing that what y'all saying not making no sense. Um, but I always look like the crazy person, unfortunately. Uh, and then a lot of kind of what made everything a lot of what made everything kind of difficult for me as well was that I had my own mind thinking about things, but at the same time, in the same instance, I had my own struggles with with being molested, with struggling with sexuality issues, with struggling with identity issues, with struggling with finding being able to trust people, finding myself attractive, finding myself beneath everything that happened to me. So my struggle with religion was not just a mental one, but it was also an emotional one. Because I grew up with this thought of me being, uh, I'm not gonna say a monster, but me being like sick. Like this can't be right. I had to be fixed somehow. Um, I think one thing that really kind of took me out. I think me going out of religion was a kind of a slow burn, but one thing that really kind of made me be like, "Bitch, wait," is when I told my mother, I told my immediate family about my past with being molested and all that other stuff, and my mother's inclination was, okay, do you need counseling? So instead of going to a regular counselor, I went to religious counseling. And there was a moment where me and the counselor kind of looked at each other like, what the fuck? And he asked me he asked me a question. He was like, so let's say you died today, and you were in front of God, what would God or Jesus, what would you have to say? And my questions were more so, they were leaning towards, why would you allow this to happen? Did you know this was going to happen? Did you have a way to prevent this from happening? If so, why didn't you do it? I think in his mind, he was expecting me to say, "Oh God, forgive me," because he asked me after I finished saying that. He's like, "So you wouldn't want to, repent or ask for forgiveness?" And I looked at him like, I was like, "No." And we both had, it was like a few seconds of silence of me and him just staring at each other. And I think at that moment, both of us realized that each other was a lost cause. And I don't think I went to another session of counseling after that. No, I think about it. I don't think I did. I don't believe I did. That moment is what really I think made me be like, okay, yeah, this is like how y'all be thinking about shit sometimes. It's not for me. This is not for me. Um, and another thing that kind of took me out of religion is, interestingly enough, it was my first relationship. I was very, very, very much so in love, and I believed a lot of what was being said, and I was naive, which I I displayed my naivete and my gullibleness two more times with two separate people after that. But when we do a let's talk love and relationships or whatever the fuck I decide to name that, we'll talk about that. But we'll talk more in depth about all of that. But when I exited that relationship, I had to really put things in perspective that just because you believe something deeply inside your heart, just because you have had this almost spiritual experience, doesn't necessarily mean that it's real. Um, and I understand a lot of people, they have these experiences with religion, and I'm not taking away your experience. I'm not taking away your account. But what I'm saying is that when you go to church, or when you're in your lowest point of your life, or when you are faced with some type of grave illness, or one of your family members is, and you have this emotional outburst, you have this feeling of awe, or you have this emotional wave that you can't really describe. A lot of people have had those same experiences with listening to music, or watching a movie, or hearing a motivational speaker talk. There's a lot that goes in play when it comes to our emotions, and it's not that what you feel is not real. It could be that what's making you feel that is not real. I mean, how many times have any of us watched a movie and cried over something that was completely fictitious? But it's just the music and how we can relate to the issue, and a lot of things, it just makes us feel connected to it. Um, how many times have we been so in love with somebody, and they prove us, or somebody else proves to us, that that's not being reciprocated, where that person may not have loved us the way we thought they did the entire time. um so I think that experience with that relationship kind of made me look at life more broadly, and be like, okay, I think sometimes uh and the crazy part is, it actually reminds me of a Bible verse. I think it's Jeremiah. Is it Jeremiah 17:9? Give me a moment. I believe that's what it is. Uh, Jeremiah 17:9 through 10. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? That's exactly what that. Oddly enough, that's exactly what that reminds me of. Um, there are times where we are stuck in periods of desperation, where we want something to be true, where we need something to come through in life, and it provides us with that with that thing to make us feel more anchored and more in control of the situations that we go through. Which is something I understand it. I get it. But as I live my life, and I started to, I started to do things like watch debates between Christians and Muslims. I watch debates between atheists and Christians, and atheists and Muslims, and I watch people give their different points of views on things. And I listen to presentations by Richard Dawkins and Sam Harris and Christopher Hitchens, and I watched comedians like George Carlin and Bill Hicks, just to get a different perspective from what I've been fed my whole life. And from listening to all those different perspectives, I eventually came to my own conclusions. So, what I feel is, if you say that, if hold on, because this AC be blasting like a motherfucker, and I be damned if it show up on the audio. So let's turn you up a bit. As soon as I finish this damn podcast, that shit is going straight back down because it be hot as fuck in here. And all of my South Floridians know exactly what the hell I'm talking about. And see, here's the problem. I don't remember where I was. But yeah. So, oh yeah. If someone asks me, like, do I believe in God? My response is something that is insufficient for most people. And the answer is I don't know. For religious people, that is not an efficient answer. For an atheist, that is not an efficient answer. So I guess I would be classified as agnostic, which is, when people ask me what my views are, that's pretty much what I refer them to because that's what mostly relates to how I think. And I will tell you how I came to that conclusion. I don't think it's possible for us to really know. We can believe, we can think, we can figure, but to know, I don't think it's possible. So let's start off very basic for me in how my thought process is. You have something, we have a theory called the Big Bang Theory. We've devised this theory based off of scientific evidence that we've seen in the cosmos to try to trace back what the origin of the universe is. As far as from what I understand, everything in the universe is pushing outwards. The universe is constantly in expansion. But what is it expanding from? So if you track all this stuff back, it goes back to a particular point that we can't yet see. And that's how the theory came about. There's no way for us to prove it, but just based off the evidence that we've collected and what we've seen, we think that this is how the universe came about. What caused the Big Bang? Nobody knows. Let's just say that the Big Bang was a way for a divine deity to create the universe. So, I'll start at the top. Do I believe in God? I don't know. Let's go back to the beginning of time. Let's assume that we don't have a way to prove or disprove that. But let's assume that there is a God. That gods exist. Okay. We have assumed that gods exist. Is there one? Is there two? Is there several? Is this God physical in another dimension? Is this God transparent? We don't know. Is it male? Is it female? What are the pronouns? Were there gods before this God? Was there, is there a society of gods and we're just like in a small pocket of everything? Don't know. There's no way to prove it or disprove it. So the best answer is don't know. To me anyway. But let's just say for argument's sake that we know that there is one God. Let's also say for argument's sake that we know that this God refers he, him pronouns. So we've made like 3 assumptions thus far concerning supernatural entities that we cannot see. Now, this is something that a lot of people skip. A lot of people skip this for whatever fucking reason. But after you make the assumption that God exists, after you make the assumption that there's only one God, after you make the assumption that God prefers he, him pronouns, you also have to make the assumption that God cares about humans and has some type of dealings in the everyday life of man. Nobody, I have heard nobody ever in my 30 years of living, I have never heard anybody say that they believe in a God that's indifferent. Whenever you hear people talk about God, it is always a personal God, a God that is on your side, a God that looks after you, a God that has these list of rules he wants you to obey, a God that needs money from you. He needs like 10% of your check. And if you want to give a little bit more, he'll throw a little bit more blessings your way. You know, a God that's going to come down and save your family member or friend from cancer or heal them after that accident. Nobody, whether it's Christians, Muslims, or whoever, I have not heard anybody say that they believe in a God that's indifferent. Not to say that there isn't some type of belief system out there that um, pretty much says that God is indifferent. I have not heard of it. If y'all have, can y'all put that in the comments? Cause that would interest me. That is very interesting. I would like to read up on that. But I have not heard it. Even if people believe in like a higher power, it's always a higher power it's always a higher power that's up in your business. And I don't know if that is humans being narcissistic as we tend to be. If there is a God, he has to be my God. He has to be involved in what I'm doing and telling me what to do. You know, I just, in my head, I don't see what's the problem with either one of those things. But most people, 9 times out of 10, are going to choose the personal God route. So let's just go with that. That's assumption number 4. Then you have to make the assumption of, okay, so God is real. There's only one God. God prefers he, him pronouns. God is a personal God. And then we have the assumptions that are specific to religions. What you'll see in the Quran, or what you'll see in the Bible, or whatever other religious text. You'll hear me refer to Islam and Christianity a lot because those are the 2 predominant ones. But I also include other religions that are based on the deity. So, to me, in my head, when I process all the information, I feel like there are too many assumptions that have to be made in order to get to the conclusions that people get to. You can say something like prayer. The power of prayer. And I prayed for something that I wanted, and I got it, and God blessed me with this, and God did this for me. A question I always ask myself when I hear people say this, whether it be in person or online or on TV or whatever, is what is your God doing that the next God isn't doing for people of a different religion? So, is it that there are multiple gods and there's a God associated with each religion, and those gods answer individual prayers for people that are part of their congregation? Or is there one God that answers anybody's prayers as long as you're praying, and as long as you pray, you're good? So that's the thing too. For there are people that pray that are Christians and they get what they want sometimes, and there are people that pray that are Muslims and they get what they're asking for sometimes. I feel as though this is gonna be hard for some of y'all to hear, but I feel as though, regardless of whether or not you pray, I feel like praying is a coping mechanism when you feel as though you don't have control of the situation. I feel that regardless of whether you pray, regardless of which religion you're a part of, even if none at all, even if you just have a want or a desire, I feel that those things are gonna come true at about the same rate as they would anybody else. Um, I feel as though good and bad things happen to good and bad people. Like, I can tell you guys some stories that I've seen, throughout my life of some fucked up things that have happened to really, really good people that were Christians, that lived that life and walked that walk. And I can tell you some really fucked up things that happen to people that are just not people that I know personally. Most people, actually, everybody I know personally believes in God and is a Christian of some sort. But just from reading and seeing online, there are people that don't believe in that, and fucked up things happen to them too. And you have people that are completely fucked up ass people, like bad people, like legit bad people, and good things happen to them. So I feel like there are certain things that happens to us that's self inflicted. It's stuff that we cause. There are things that other people cause towards us because their own uh, internal turmoil. And I believe that there are things that we go through just because life is life. Just life is life, and things just happen. But I don't think those occurrences that we experience are guided by some type of some type of forces of good and evil in the atmosphere. I don't believe that. Um, so it's just one of those things where I've kind of had to look at the situation broadly and be like, okay, based off what I see overall, does all of this make sense? So when people say, they've had this feeling, or they prayed for something and received it, I have a hard time believing that. So I mean, you can even get to the point where you're like, okay, I've people might see God in like their sleep, or feel like maybe God spoke to them while they were in the shower, or while they were praying, or while they were wherever else. um, I'm not taking away from your experience, uh, but what I'm saying is that it's more likely that you just kind of found a breakthrough in your subconscious. To me, personally, a lot of this is based off of perception. Like, if you have a let's say an ancient tribe, and they pray to the water gods, and it rains 3 days later, and now they're saying, yeah, praise the water gods, and all of this, it might was gonna rain already. No, just because of the evaporation in the area. But it's that we perceive reality, and so we take in reality, and we perceive it in a way that confirms what we already want to believe, which they call confirmation biases. So sometimes we want to believe something so badly that we'll pick stuff out in reality that happens that correlates with our beliefs, or that makes us feel like that our beliefs are justified, and those beliefs will harden because we feel like, okay, that's gotten me through it. I feel like this is why you'll find people that are very, very like devout, very committed to the religion they're part of, because they've had a lot of instances where their mind has perceived that their prayers have been answered, where their mind has perceived that the reality is being manipulated by some greater being that's on their side. So that creates a further hardening of that belief. In that process, I think would happen regardless of whether it was true or not. Like, I could pray to a shoe god, and tomorrow some Jordans could show up at my door, and I'll be like, yeah, bless the shoe gods, yes. And the more that things happen, the more committed I'm going to be to that idea. Not realizing that the postman just dropped the Jordans off at the wrong damn house. It's just, I feel like people don't think about this. And and don't get me wrong, I'm not calling anybody out. I'm not saying people are bad people for feeling this way. I'm just giving my own personal viewpoint based off of how I observe things. We can even go to other things like you can say, like, let's talk afterlife. There are people, and I preface this as well. Hold on, let me take a swig of this sweet tea. I'll preface it with this as well. You can. I'm very open to different beliefs and viewpoints and ideas concerning the afterlife. I'm open to the whole heaven or hell. I'm open to reincarnation. I'm open to a lot of these things, but in the process of me being open to it, I also have to analyze it as well. So when it comes to like things like heaven and hell, I feel I take pauses sometimes. I want what I'm saying to be perceived in the way that I'm actually trying to display it. So if someone catches like that shit's an STD. If somebody develops dementia or Alzheimer's or something like that, they lose memory of even their children, their husband, or people that they knew in the past, their parents. When somebody is struck in the head, they might lose memory, or they might lose some cognitive function. They might not be able to drive. They might not be able to walk. Even if somebody's, their spine is severed, you can't walk anymore. So to think, a lot of these things happen because they are a part of our physical body. There was damage to our brain. There was damage to our limbs in some form of fashion. So to think that we're gonna die and somehow, we die, our brain dies, and we're gonna somehow be able to talk and have memories and be walking around as a spirit is unlikely to me. It just is. I can't, I can't sugarcoat that any type of way. It's not likely. I don't feel as though that's a possibility. And I don't feel as though it's realistic. You can say, okay, maybe when we die, we convert into a spirit, like our energy and our essence. I can accept that, I guess, but it creates a problem when you talk about heaven and hell specifically. It's kind of like, okay, if it does happen and we are this spirit, and it let's just call it our life force comes out of our body when we die, it makes heaven and hell kind of strange because your spirit is in eternal paradise or eternal damnation, and you have no type of real recollection of any of that. Like you're burning in hell for something you don't even recall or remember. Um, and a lot of people are gonna burn in hell or be in heaven based off of what their physical bodies wanted or desired, or something that they're genetically prone to, or whatever. It's most of it is physical. Um, so that's always come off. That's always been crazy to me. To be honest, um, I can see reincarnation in a way because you're talking about our life. We die, and then our spirit or life essence is transferred into a newborn body. We don't have any type of memories or any type of connection to our previous life or previous body. We're in a, it's literally a start to a new life. We're just a continuation of that essence. But I don't even know, because the thing is that the essence of who you are is a combination of your genetics and your life experiences. So I mean, I guess that can be your energy. Your the I guess you can call it life energy in your body that goes on and is put in another body. I find that more believable than I find like heaven and hell, to be honest. And I was raised believing in heaven and hell. But think about it, as an adult, I don't know. Realistically, I feel as though when we die, that's it. Like they say, only live once, and I think that's literally how it is. I think when you die, the screen goes black, and that's it. Like your mental state is returned to the state it was before you were born, which is non-existent. Um, I feel like death is a dreamless sleep. Like when you are sleeping, you're not having any dreams. You're literally not aware of time. You're not aware of your job or your family. You're not aware of it. You're just in a state of unconsciousness. And I think that death is probably a permanent state of that. Uh, that's not the most happy-go-lucky thing to believe. But I think that that's a possibility. So I mean, but like I said, I'm very open to whatever. But I don't fix myself on believing anything because I don't know. It's not like I've been dead before. There are people that have died and claim that they've been to hell or to heaven or wherever else. But my thing is, when you think about it, it's also, people. I watched a video with Neil deGrasse Tyson. He made a pretty valid point when he said when people say that they see a white light when they're about to die, and it's like, well, if you're in a hospital and they're working on you on the operating table and you're near death and you open your eyes, what's normally right above you at operating table is a light. And then also, this is not something he said, but something I just thought about. When you when people die and they say they have these afterlife experiences, it's possible that in preparation of thinking that they're about to die, they could have dreamed all of that either before their heart stopped, while their heart had stopped, or after their heart began beating again and before they became conscious again. And the reason I say you can have that dream while you're after your heart has stopped completely is that the brain is still active after your heart dies, pretty much. So it's still possible for you to have some type of dream when you're in that state. So up until you're dead after a certain point, dreams are possible. And even, you can have people say, you can go to people and they'll be like, well, I was dead for 30 minutes or I was dead for an hour. And it's just like, okay, the time period that you were dead, once your heart started beating again, did you immediately become conscious from being dead, or were you unconscious for a time period after you began to live again? That would be my question as well, because it's very possible that, yeah, you were dead, and then when your heart started beating again, you could have dreamed out that whole experience and then woke up. So when people say, experiences like that, I have my doubts with those as well, because it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I mean, how many dreams have any of us had that feel real? Like, I've had a dream where this I had a dream. It was like years ago. This is actually when I was living with my family, like 2 houses ago. Well, that was back when we were in apartments. My family has come a long way. I had a dream that I was leaving the apartment. I don't know where the hell everybody else was, but for some reason I was leaving, and it was like evening. It wasn't quite daylight, but it wasn't quite like night either. It might have been like 6 or 7 in the evening. And I looked down the stairs, and there was this like black figure with like yellow eyes, black pupils, and like these like teeth. I was like, bitch, the fuck is that? I'm black. I'm ready to take the fuck off. But before, you know how you had that moment where you first see something, you had that like a couple of milliseconds of freezing the fuck up because your eyes are trying to identify what the fuck you're looking at. That happened, and in the process of me trying to identify what I was looking at, it I'm not even gonna say ran up the stairs. It like floated up the fucking stairs. I was like, bitch, the fuck. So I tried to run back in the room, back in the house, and I could not move fast enough to get back in. So as soon as I got in the house and tried to close the door, it kind of bursted open and came in the house. And as soon as it was about to get to me, I woke up. That experience felt real as shit. But then I woke up and I realized, okay, it was a dream. It was all a dream. So I was like, wow. I've had dreams about me falling, feeling like that was a complete legit experience. So I say all that to say we can have dreams that feel real, but once again, I say it's back to perception. If you wake up and you perceive that was real, but you were in some type of like spiritual domain or something like that, then that's what you're going to believe, regardless of whether it's true or not, because it felt real. There are some people that have dreams about their spouse cheating, and their spouse ain't did shit but live. But they feel so committed to the idea, and it felt so real that they start now looking at things that they hadn't looked at before, watching how they talk, how they move, how long did it take them to come from the store, yada yada yada, over a dream that was absolutely, you know, created in their mind. But what some people will say is, oh no, the dreams are. Now, do I think that your dreams can? Do I think that your dreams can reveal something that your mind is trying to subconsciously hide from yourself? Yeah, yeah, I think it's possible. Yeah, I do. Um, but to say the dream was real, or um, you know, you had a dream about the future and now it's some type of like deja vu moment, and this was some type of spiritual affair of, I guess, God or somebody in the spiritual domain trying to warn you of something. I don't know about all that. I don't know about all that. So when it comes to prayer, when it comes to afterlife, it you know, that type of stuff leads me to say I don't know. Um, and then when you think about things like, well, first let me say this. This is gonna be really quick. Again, I grew up in a Pentecostal church. There is not one time where I have seen somebody catch the Holy Ghost and believed it. Not once. As a child or as an adult, I believe, you know, when people get emotional, I've already explained what I feel that is. Um, I feel like it's real emotions, but the actual catching of the Holy Ghost and speaking in tongues and all of that, I personally feel like it's performative. Personally, that's just, I've always felt that way. Um, I've never talked to anybody in detail about that feeling, but yeah, that's, I just never, yeah. I never felt that. I never experienced that. When I have seen it, I don't like. I was in church one time, and this they invited this preacher to come to the church, and you know, she caught the Holy Ghost, and she got on the microphone and basically was, it's almost like she was possessed. Like she got on the microphone and she was talking as though she was God, and you know, once God was finished talking, she pretty much went limp as the spirit left her body, and she came back to herself a couple moments later, and everybody in the church was going wild and speaking in tongues and clapping and shouting and all this type of stuff. And I just remember me being in the background like, this is some bullshit. like, like, I'm sorry if that offends anybody, but that was literally my thoughts. Like, this is some bullshit. I don't know why y'all sitting here believing this bullshit. I don't know why y'all entertaining this, but y'all know good and motherfucking well that this bitch just acted her ass off. But you can't say that. You definitely can't say it if you're the only person that has that thought. Which, you know, many cases I really don't talk about religion like in my real life, like out in the world. I don't, because I feel like, you know, in my whole life I've only met one person in person that thinks the way I do. One, and that was a coworker from a job that I worked at years ago at a call center. She was a cool ass bitch, and I am so mad I did not get to know her a little bit more, because I think we could have really been great friends. I honestly don't even remember her name, to be honest. That's the saddest part. But she was a cool ass bitch. Cool. Probably a little older than me, light skin, glasses. I think she had a child. Cool chick. Um, you know, and I tend to not talk about religion now, because I feel like most people don't have that open mindedness that I have when it comes to spirituality and belief and, you know, all of that. Like I'm very open minded. Like even everything I'm saying now, it's not set in stone for me in my head. Like I review what I believe on a constant basis. Like, and I believe in having reasons for things I believe, other than, oh well, that's just right or that's just wrong, or stuff like that. I like to have a reason. I like to think things through and have a process of how I'm engaging something. And people aren't like that. A lot of people, what they believe is a secondhand thought from people who got it by secondhand. And that's just, I don't feel comfortable with that. The issue with that is that when you're surrounded by people who do believe that, when you speak about it, they make it seem as though you're crazy for just thinking and being curious about something and not just accepting what you're told. So I don't speak about it as much. When I around the time I had first left religion, I had a lot to say, and anybody who was on like my Facebook during that time period, they understand. I had quite a bit to say. Most of the stuff I put on my Facebook then, I still feel the same way. I'm just nowhere near as vocal as I used to be back then. Because I think when I was a kid, I was more so like, wow, like y'all aren't thinking about this stuff. Y'all aren't asking these questions. Y'all aren't doing like what's wrong with everybody. But I kind of got over it because I realized, I realized how much people need it. Uh, you know, a lot of people get through their situations by confiding in religion. A lot of people get their emotional stability through believing that there's a greater power that's aiding and assisting them throughout their lives. And I think broadly religion has not been a benefit, especially considering how many deaths, how much suffering has occurred in the name of people's belief in their particular God. But I think on a more personal level, it's really helped a lot of people get through very tough circumstances. So I think once I realized that, I kind of just backed away from it and left it alone. But yeah, I rarely have anybody to talk about like who really want to have an honest conversation, not even to convince each other of anything, but just to have an honest conversation about it. Because people don't, when you live in a society or a community where everybody believes that, it's kind of hard to have those conversations. So, I mean, even when it comes to like dating, I've had somebody completely like block my ass and cut me off after we started talking about religion. I'm like, well, damn, I didn't even say anything like rude. I was just said how I felt, like, and I was completely yeah, I didn't say anything disrespectful, and I was I was cool. I mean, I thought I was cool. And to me as well, a lot of people wouldn't date somebody outside of their religious beliefs, whereas with me, I don't feel as though somebody's belief in God necessarily makes them a good person or of any higher moral value than anybody else. Yeah, that's just how I feel. I feel like anywhere you look, there are good and bad people everywhere. There are uh, there are atheist people who are very good people, very humble people, normal people who live their life in society, tax-paying individuals. There are atheists who are terrible people, who don't have no value for human life, who are disrespectful, who steal, who do. But you can find both of those kind of people in any area you look in, any race, any religion, any lack of religion, in any Because at the end of the day, people are people. So for me, I'm agnostic, but I don't mind dating an atheist. I don't mind dating a Christian. I don't mind dating, you know, whoever. I've dated a witch. Okay, like okay. So I don't like with me. I'm very open, and when I you know, if you want to pray, I'll pray with you. Don't ask me to talk. Shit. Bitch, if you Christian and you ask me to pray, you ask me to conduct the prayer, God gonna look at that call ID like, bitch, the fuck? What the fuck he calling for? And if you Muslim, Allah just gonna think it's a scam likely. That he's gonna be like, bitch, this gotta be another motherfucker trying to scam me, and he gonna straight up ignore that call and probably block the number completely. I'm like, bitch, I don't know who the fuck that is. So don't ask me to pray. Basically, I will pray with you. I will be there with you during prayer, and you know, if you're fasting and you know, to show support to you, I'll fast with you. I will go to church or to the do Muslims go to a mosque? Is it a mass or a mosque? Whatever Muslims go to worship, I'll go with you. Don't expect me to go every week. You got maybe a good once. I had to think about that once a month thing. I had to see how I feel. It's either once a month. If you don't give me once a month, it'll be once a quarter, and we can do it that way. I'm not gonna try to force anything on you. I'm not gonna try to sit there and try to convince you of anything to make you leave your religion. And I expect the same in return. Like I respect you. I expect my partner to not try to force that on me. Basically, but I will happily support my partner in their, I guess, religious endeavors because I listen. This is probably for the love and relationships. Let's talk, but when I have feelings for somebody, when I'm in love with somebody, I'm a down ass nigga. Okay? And when I say down, I am down. Like I will sit with you and stand by you through anything. As long as you respect me as a person, as long as you love me like you say you do, as long as you are you know, as long as you have a good deal of emotional intelligence to work with me on our relationship and on our goals and what we're trying to do and all that, I will stand next to somebody. I will stand next to you through anything. When I mean anything, I've traveled across the country for somebody. I was homeless in a car for like 2 months to 3 months, however fuck long it was, with somebody that I had feelings for. So for me, for somebody to not, you know, I don't feel as though somebody's belief in God or lack thereof is a direct reflection of their moral compass or them as a person. So I don't that's not a factor for me. Like if I met somebody and they're like, oh no, I don't believe in God, and I'm like, yeah, that's cool, you know, whatever. But what is your moral compass set up like? Are you considerate? Are you gentle? Are you do you stand up for the things you do believe in? Do you it's stuff like that? Are you responsible? Can you love me adequately? Can you accept my love adequately? It's things like that that I think about, not, you know, oh, you're Muslim, get away from me. You know, I don't think I don't. I don't. I don't. And I wouldn't, you know, if you feel that way, you know, there are some black people that only date black people. There are some Christians most Christians that only date Christians. Maybe you feel like you need that cultural connection to somebody. which is fine. Like, I'm not saying it's wrong. All I'm saying is I that's just not how I conduct myself. So yeah, it has made dating a bit strange because you have great conversation, and then we get up to that part, and it's just like all I hear is crickets, and then the door swinging back and forth. It's like I don't even see a motherfucker leave. It's just an after image. How fast they be gone. Um, I want to say I covered most of the notes I wrote down. Oh, there's two more things. Um, Another thing when it comes to religion, when it comes to um, belief in God. Another thing I really can't put a grip on is, and this is why I say good and bad things happen to good and bad people. It's kind of indiscriminate. I think that some people are just born into better situations. Some people are born into money. Some people are born into good looks. Some people are born into into access to material things. Some people are born in families with higher education. Some people are, it's like good and bad things happen to good and bad people, but the rate for all of us is different because we all have different lives and different experiences. Um, and like I said before, some of that is some of that happens because of who we are and the decisions we make is self inflicted. But there are situations you look at and you be like, okay, hold on, I gotta take another squig. Okay, so there are situations that you'll look at, and I asked myself one day, I was like, so is God, like, let's say that God exists, let's say that He cares about humans and all this type of stuff. Is God good or bad? Um, and you look at the world, it's kind of a hard question to address because I feel as though if God were good, the world would be much better. If God were bad, the world would be much worse. And that's how I feel. There are plenty of things that happen to people: tsunamis, hurricanes, cancers, and all these different types of ways that people can die. That just it doesn't have to do anything with the decisions that they make. It's just something they're genetically prone to, or some type of natural disaster, or something like that. And you think about, okay, um, did God know this was going to happen? And could God have prevent this from happening if He knew it was going to happen? And if He chose not to prevent this from happening, why? And I could never produce a sufficient reason for that. Any reason I can think of uh, lean more towards, oh, that's fucked up. Like, if you think, like, let's just use the Bible for example. If you think about the story of the wow, I ain't read a Bible story in that long. I forgot this. Noah and the Ark. If you think about Noah and the Ark, it's like, okay, how many people were on the world doing during this time period? Um, so you mean to tell me that you had this old, decrepit ass old man go around and tell people that the world is gonna flood, everything's gonna be over, and he's building this ship? Most people would think he crazy. I don't think that it's a wild thought for people not to believe that. I just don't. Um, if a nigga said that today, a lot of people would be like, "Bitch, you don't lost your fucking mind." The whole world. Uh, so it's just a matter of there were I think 8 people that got put on the ark with Noah, and everybody else died. Man, woman, and child. Everybody. That's fucked up. Or you can take the story of Job, where God allowed Satan to pretty much fuck Job's life up just on a bet. And I'm like, are we serious? Like you, this man lost everything. Like I get the moral of the story. Like you're supposed to like believe in all of this because his wife was doubting, and all. I get the but it's just it's not cool. Like if a human did anything, I'm not gonna say anything. If a human did a lot of things that God, as it relates in the Bible, had done, he'd be a fucked up ass individual. Imagine your friend letting your child die, and they could have prevented your child from dying, but when you ask them the reason, they'll say, "Oh, I wanted to test your faith in me." You would fuck that nigga up. Like you would completely grab a hammer and a wrench and fuck him up. I would fuck him up. I wish a motherfucker would say some shit like that to me. And I think losing a child is the worst thing that somebody. Fuck getting your heart broken. Fuck your parents dying. Losing your child is the hardest thing I think somebody can go through. So for somebody to sit there and tell me that you're doing this to test my faith in y'all in our relationship, I'm fucking you up like to the max. I'm going to jail. Okay. So it's just a lot of stuff like that kind of pushed me away from it as well. I mean, other people don't have no problem with it, and I don't have a problem with the fact that other people have no problem with it. I'm just saying, for me, that's not something that it's a no for me. It's a chop. It's not a tens for me. So I think that's even more of a reason why I feel like if there is a God, that it might be like a God that's indifferent, a God that just kind of creates and not necessarily has any dealing with humans specifically. He just creates things in the universe pretty much, or maybe he just creates universes. Don't know, but possibility. So I'm trying to read over my notes real quick and make sure I mention everything that I want to mention, because I have just exceeded an hour and a half, even though I think I spent the first 30 minutes talking about Tyler Perry ass. But yeah. So that's pretty much generally how I feel about religion. Like I said, I don't have any problem with people who are religious. I don't have any problem with people who aren't. I think we're all people. I think we all want to be happy. I think we all want to be we all want the best lives that we can possibly live while we're here. I'm just a very curious person. Me not believing in any type of religion, I don't feel makes me a bad person. I try my best to be a good person. I don't. There are some moments in life where I have fallen short of that. I look back on it and I'm like, Kyle, you really was fucked up. Like you should have handled that situation completely differently. But overall, I try to make sure that each year I'm a better person than I was the year prior. Once again, I don't really discuss how I feel about things like this to people in my life. I don't know if there is an afterlife, but I know that when if you don't get off my couch, oh, y'all don't get no cats. Don't get no cat. She done almost made me lose my thought. Um, I feel like when I die, I want people to be able to say good things. Um, even if it was, he was a cool ass dude, and that's it. Like, I don't want there to be any like negative connotation to my name, dead or alive, to be honest. Uh, so I try the best I can to be the best person I can. Um, what people's perception of me is, I don't know. I honestly don't know because I really don't talk to people. Bitches could be sitting here gossiping about me like a motherfucker, but I would never know it because I don't talk to nobody. So that gossip about me or that what people say and all that, it would never get back to me. I don't fuck with nobody. My family don't fuck with nobody, and the people that they do is on like one or two on their list. My best friend don't fuck with nobody. So, and he lives all the way in fucking Texas now. So it's like I have no idea how people perceive me. Um, I think that people's opinions don't matter, but I think their opinion should be reviewed to see if there's anything consistent in what they're saying, in regards to what you do. I think self reflection is the most important tool that we have to grow. And a lot of people don't. So yeah, that's how I feel. Um, like I said, I'm gonna try to record an episode a day. I'm gonna try. If I can't get this episode up tonight, then I'll try to put it up tomorrow. I just have to edit a few things with the whole Tyler Perry segment we had earlier and all that. So I'm not gonna tell you guys what the next episode is gonna be because I don't know. Like, I literally don't know. I don't want to do two less talks back to back. I just don't want to do that. So I might find something, in media or some Twitter reads or something like that to go off of. There's been a lot of talk about Diddy, so I might review some of the information on that and give my opinion on it. We'll see. I mean, it all depends on what happens between now and tomorrow. But yeah, this was the third episode of Princess Domain. Or is it the fourth? No, it's the third. This is the third episode of Princess Domain. I hope that you guys enjoyed the show. I hope that you, consider some of the things I said. Even if you completely disagree, that's fine as well. Put your thoughts in the comments and let's have a conversation about it. And who knows, y'all might actually, y'all might bring me to the light. So, do I want to do a message of the day? I guess I will. So, my message of the day, and I'm really thinking about, this is straight from the dome because I did not prepare this. Message of the day is that you have to learn how to evaluate who is for you and who is not. And I don't mean just relationships. I don't mean just your friends. I mean in life. I mean at your job. I mean within your family. I mean, you have to, because people will attach to you for different reasons. They will attach to you for emotional reasons, for monetary reasons, for social reasons, for religious reasons. Some people actually, like I said, when I was in church, there are some people that will actually like throw themselves at people that they feel are chosen by God. You know, how that works out, I don't know. How you decide that you want to ride some sanctified ass dick, I don't know how that works out of people's minds, but I'm not here to judge you. I'm not finna yuck on your yum. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But you have to learn who's really for you, who's really not. Are people in your space because they love you and appreciate you, or are they in your space because they're trying to use you in some type of way? You can't give too much of yourself to people too soon. Have people earn it. Have people show you why you should. Why should I give you the love that you're asking for? Why should I give you the energy that you're asking for? And you have to do what you can to protect yourself in your own energy. And if that means pulling back from people that you really want a connection with, then you have to do that. Because there are many situations where you can probably think of yourself as you're listening to this, whether it be like friends or relationships where you've put this amount of trust into people because you're a good person and you believe that they're a good person, just to find out, just for them to treat you differently once they can't get what they want, or just to find out that they wanted something from you other than just to be in your space. To seek your counsel, to be a friend, to be supportive, to be there with you because of who you are as a person. And a lot of us do get tied up in that, unfortunately. So the message of the day is basically to just increase your discernment and be clear-eyed about who you spend time with and how you're spending time, because a lot of people make a lot of mistakes, and I have made plenty of mistakes. So this is why I'm trying to tell you. I'm trying to educate you right now. Don't do it. Think. But yes, that's the message of the day. As always, this is Kyle at Princess Domain. Have a great day, a great week, a great month. Eat something healthy, get some sleep, and stay safe. See y'all next time.